Hey, this is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen. This week, I am pleased to welcome back Brian Saur. Brian Saur is the co-host of the Pure Cinema podcast, a long-running film podcast he hosts alongside Elric Kane. As the official podcast of the new Beverly Cinema, the show has spent the past 9 years exploring cult and classic films with a particular emphasis on uncovering hidden, off-the-beaten-path gems. Over the years, it has featured high-profile guests such as Quentin Tarantino, Sean Baker, Rian Johnson, Edgar Wright, Patton Oswalt, Larry Karaszewski, and Dan Waters. At its core, the podcast aims to recreate the experience of walking into a video store and getting personalized movie recommendations from the knowledgeable staff behind the counter. Listen to Pure Cinema anywhere you get your podcasts. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and more. Brian, it has been way too long. One of my oldest friends from Twitter, I would say like 2009, 2010, I've known you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
In the blog days of Rupert Pumpkin Speaks and then the DVD Netflix. So we go way back. How are you doing?
I am great. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me back, Jen. It's always a pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yes. And I was really excited when we were thinking of various ideas. Brian has amazing taste. All the listeners of his shows know that, of course, that he is quite an encyclopedia of film. But I was thinking, let's get some of your picks, because I used to love those blogging assignments you gave, like, best of 99 or 89 or whatever it was that we were writing that year. And so I thought this was a clever idea you had, Brian. Do you want to talk about it?
I mean, I don't know how clever it is or not, but like, it's just a thing that I realized. I thought, well, what would you be into? I was trying to think of something that you'd be into, and I know you're into all kinds of things, but I was just sort of thinking about some film noir that I've discovered throughout the course of recording Pure Cinema and Just the Discs, and some that I just sort of thought were like a little underrepresented, although the second one did play as part of a series at the Egyptian here in Los Angeles, but I still think it's under discussed. So just some movies that I thought the listeners might be interested in that maybe they haven't heard of, and, some jumping off points. In the case of like the first movie, it's sort of part of a series and stuff like that. So just some things that I thought maybe people haven't seen that would be fun to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I had not seen any. Originally, we had a list of 5, but we both got really busy. I'm going to, at the end of the episode, ask you for any others, and you can fire off all your recommendations.
Thank you.
Of course, because, hello, when we have you here, we want to know. We want to pick your brain, Brian.
I appreciate it.
But when we were talking about them, I looked over and I thought, okay, I've seen Roadhouse, But going in and rewatching it, I realized nothing was coming back. So I'm just going to count that as a first time watch too.
Nice.
But other than that, we also had The Power of the Whistler, which was extremely new. I had not even heard of the Whistler movie, so I was excited. Then we had, like I said, Roadhouse from 48 and Shakedown from 1950. So I like this sort of trio. Very interesting. You can kind of see maybe what they were playing off of, what they were responding to in filmmaking, and also, it's hard to watch something like Shakedown and not think of Nightcrawler. So I thought This was a cool selection that you did.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad that they were enjoyed at least somewhat on some level with all 3, and that they were new to you. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we were going to go chronologically. So The Power of the Whistler, I think this was probably my favorite.
Nice.
Of the ones. I was completely blown away. I work at a bookstore as like a part-time gig, and here in Arizona at Poison Pen Bookstore, Poison Pen Press had Frida McFadden. So like, I know these storylines, these psychological thrillers, twists and turns, and I know all of that. So when I was watching that, I was thinking, okay, it's this. No, it's that. And it completely threw me.
Yeah.
Which I loved because I did not see where it was going, but I was also thinking, because this was around the time that Housemaid came out on streaming, and I had not seen that. So I watched these kind of like within a week or so, and I was like,
Nice.
people who like that would love Power of the Whistler.
That's a good rec. No, I like that a lot. I wasn't familiar with the Whistler series until this is a Just the Disc discovery. It came out as part of the Indicator Noir series. They've done a great box set series of noirs, and I think it's Columbia Noir number 6, maybe. And it's the entire series. And for those who don't know, it's based on a radio series from, I don't know, like the 30s or something like that, a CBS radio drama. And what's great about the series is that it's, they use the same actor, Richard Dix, I think for almost all of them. And you can kind of drop in on any one because they're, I don't want to call them anthology, but basically none of them are connected except that they have this sort of omniscient narrator character called the Whistler who opens every movie and he's kind of like the Rod Serling, but like creepier. You know what I mean? Like he just says like, he just knows something's coming, and they're kind of like, not quite Twilight Zone, but definitely noir. And I was reading like one of the only film series that can be called noir or something like that. I don't know, but there's a bunch.
Yeah,
there's a bunch,
like
and they're
8 of them.
Yeah, they're all good. Definitely recommend checking out that box set. It's really great. But to be honest, the other neat thing about these movies, in fact, all of them, but definitely the Whistler movies, is I believe they're all available on YouTube, and love to be able to give people recommendations they can get easy access to. And there's a nice copy. I think Sony themselves have uploaded a copy of Power of the Whistler, so you can watch a really nice copy of it. But yeah, they're all interesting. They're all different. And Richard Dix is really, it's neat. He was not an actor that I was like, this is my dude or anything before that. I knew him from some pre-codes and something like that, but seeing him do this series is really neat because he's playing something different every time. Sometimes he's sympathetic. In this case, it's kind of up for a question if he is or not. And this one is really interesting too because it's kind of it touches on amnesia noir, which is a subsect of noir that I kind of love, where somebody loses their memory and they have to figure it out and stuff. And so, I mean, it is a fun one to watch unfold because the idea is basically that this dude, we see him at the beginning, we get a little narration, he gets like kind of hit by a car and knocked into a light post and hits his head. And we get a sense that he was on some kind of a mission, but we don't know exactly what. And now he doesn't know who he is. And there's a woman in a bar that is kind of doing fortune telling, and she's reading a deck of playing cards, kind of like tarot cards or something. Yeah. And she reads his fortune and is like, he's going to die in the next 24 hours. I should help him. And then the setup,
she runs it twice. Even.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's like clearly something's wrong, and she can't let this guy leave. And her friends are like, nah, don't do that. But she decides to go and help him. And what's fun is that he has some clues on his person. He has, I'm trying to remember I think I wrote it down. It's like he has some items. Let's see here. He has a cigarette lighter, a doctor's prescription, receipt for a birthday cake, receipt for roses, a key, and a railroad schedule. Yes. And it's just like, how do these add up to who he was and what was his mission kind of thing?
Yeah, and then they chase it down to see who he sent the roses to, and well, obviously this person probably knows them. And, it takes it from there. I also love the amnesia noir. Those are always fun. And I think I also dug the fact that it was a fortune teller in this, because recently I had on Lena Chern, who is an author, and she writes these sort of tarot mystery books. The first one won the Mary Higgins Clark Award. And so we did an episode on like psychics, free will, predestination, and fate in movies. And I was thinking, oh, wow, this would have been right there with it. But I'm going to have to email her and make sure that she checks this one out. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I loved the idea of a fortune teller because it was a nice hook. It didn't have like a traditional PI, or she was a different type of Girl Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm totally into that. And it's one of the reasons I picked it is because, I love that open too. My girlfriend actually is a tarot reader, like reads at the Magic Castle here in Los Angeles. Oh, wow. and read tarot on our first date. And I'm like kind of a believer in it. Like I've kind of seen and heard stories, and it's one of those things where it's a fun thing because you can really take it with a grain of salt, or you can take it partially and you can use it as a guide for something you may or may not want to do. And a lot of people really swear by it, but I've seen it enough that like when she's offered to just read for me, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that right now because I'm scared of because it was really accurate the first time she did it. Like it was funny how straight on it was. So I got to check out that episode. I missed that one, so I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. She mentioned too, the power of the cards is also just like what you bring to the cards, because she said she was just kind of doing it as an amateur with friends and noticing they were really honing in on certain cards. So I'm sure your girlfriend has some great stories. We should have had her on just for this one.
I know, I should have. It's my bad, but yeah, she's really good at it and she does a great job. So it's definitely something I if you have never had a tarot reading, like I would recommend it. I think it's kind of fun. So.
Very cool. And then our next movie is Roadhouse, 1948. And we're not talking dance karate here, unfortunately. No Sam Elliott with that beautiful head of hair. But this is Ida Lupino. I thought, I love Widmark. You put Widmark in anything, you just sit up straighter.
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to do one of his maniacal laughs.
She does several times in this movie.
Yes, he does. Yeah, it was a fun little, like, ooh. This one I thought was really good. It kind of turns on a dime, and I like it when movies do that, but they have to be convincing about it.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? That Anthony Edwards, Miracle Mile with Anthony Edwards and Mare Winningham. I like it when there's a turn, but as long as it kind of fits in with what we've seen and established this dreaminess and then, turn into the surreal. And what I like about Roadhouse is it goes from noir to like a horror movie. I mean,
kind of, yeah.
It's basically like all of a sudden you were waiting for him to be Max Cady in Cape Fear or like Night of the Hunter, Robert Mitchum. I mean, it just like goes. We're in the woods, and
yeah, that ending is crazy. It's this is the one that played as it was the opening night of the Nitrate series. This is late last year at the Egyptian, and so I saw it on Nitrate with a crowd. I'd seen it before, but oh man, does this movie play good with a crowd. It's so much fun because Ida Lupino destroys. Like she is so, I mean, the basic setup is that, she comes out to this roadhouse kind of in the middle of nowhere that is run by, Widmark, who plays Jeffty, which is a name I've never heard.
Such a great name.
It is really
good. Was that a typo?
It seems like that Lefty and Jeff, or I don't know what they're doing, but it's a great, and he refers to himself in the third person sometimes, which is fun. But so Cornell Wilde is kind of his buddy. I guess they're old army buddies or something, and he runs this roadhouse, which is like a bar / bowling alley.
Which I thought was such a clever idea. Yeah, because we're expecting it to be like, because of Roadhouse, the newer one, like the small and rough and tumble, and it's like, oh, I want to go bowling now. You're watching. Me
too. Yeah. No, I love bowling.
Do they have mini golf? Yeah,
they should. Yeah. But yeah, so like apparently Jeffty's thing is that he'll go out of town and meet some girl or see some girl in a bar and then bring them back, and this has happened multiple times, to work at his club. And Cornell Wilde is just kind of over it. Like he's just like, I've seen this a bunch before. And Jeffty wants to pay her a ton of money, and Cornell Wilde's just like, look, I don't even want to deal with this. I'm going to put her on the next train out of town. And she's like, nah, no, I have a contract and I'm going to collect on. She's so like kind of world weary, but like sharp. And I was just reading like right before we got on that apparently she, like, what is this? Like, Lupino discovered, exactly. Bought the story and took it to Zanuck and got herself in the lead. It's so great.
Yeah, she wanted more control over her films, her career, the roles she was playing. And this was, I guess, her first project, as TCM called it, an independent agent, which is really exciting that she just thought, I'm going to develop this. Also, she developed the Widmark character, I was reading, made him even better, which kind of shows and foreshadows what she was going to do as a storyteller.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously an incredible director and filmmaker in her own right, and always been a favorite of mine. And she's got she does her own singing, but it's more like talk singing.
Yeah, I was going to say I watched it and I made a joke online about probably the thing that we have to do the most with suspension of belief when we're watching is like when the sirens, and they're beautiful, start to sing. And unfortunately she's not a great singer, but she does this like it's 2:45, and that's
totally. It's like her own, not quite Tom Waits, but something like that, I guess.
Yes, but I thought, and it works, except when they follow it up with this actress saying like what she can do with her voice.
I know. I'm like, okay, we'll
cut that line.
Yeah, we'll let that slide. But she has so much,
much presence.
Yes, that she brings. Yeah, and she's obviously very sexy and just sort of has this vibe that people totally dig. So it becomes sort of a love triangle movie, and the ending, we won't get into it, but there's just the weirdest court situation that I've ever. I'm very curious if that was really a thing or not. Like, again, I don't want to spoil what happens, but like when it happens, I'm like, really? That's illegal? Okay. All right. I guess that's something that they do. All right.
Yeah. There were some weird court scenes in Noir.
Exactly.
But that's up there. Like if you're making the top 5, if we're doing like bizarre legal thrillers, like
absolutely,
that's in there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a great movie.
And I love this director, Gene Negulesco.
Oh, yes. He did Johnny Belinda. And,
oh, yeah. Yeah. No, he's done a bunch. Humoresque, which I still haven't seen, which I just got recommended by a friend and I've heard is fantastic. I got to see that. But he did a version of Titanic back in 1953. He did How to Marry a Millionaire. And then one of my favorites that we could save for the recommendations, but I'll just throw in here is a movie called The Mask of Demetrios with Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre. That's kind of like a noir Citizen Kane type story where you have a guy's body washes up on the shore and it becomes a story of like, who was this guy? And I think it's Peter Lorre going around interviewing people and everybody's like, oh, that guy. Well, and everybody hated him. So
interesting.
It's really fun. And then he did one that's kind of a soap opera that I love called The Best of Everything with Joan Crawford.
I loved it. Yes.
Yeah, fun, right?
Yeah, that's a really good
So he's really
one.
good. He's really good.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting him to be the filmmaker behind this because then, I think I was reading they were even calling him like the master of CinemaScope or something. Like he kind of, so he's, he took noir and then he climbed into the melodramas. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the first version of Titanic I ever saw was probably his.
Oh, that's cool. That's the Barbara Stanwyck. It's good. It's good. It's really interesting. This, not to get too far afield here, but like, it's interesting to watch other versions of Titanic before, the James Cameron, where some information about how the ship sank came out. Like, I think there's, again, this is nerdy stuff, but like how the boat split in half was not known when those films were made. So those films don't portray the sinking quite the same way as Cameron's does, which I think is more accurate or whatever. But so it's always fun to watch that stuff because that and Night to Remember have different takes on some of the quote unquote facts. And, but they're great. They're always fun to watch, those Titanic versions,
Yeah, we were kind of just stuck using our own intuition with whatever science we had at the time. So
exactly.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Shakedown. I thought this one, I immediately jumped into my group chat to tell Jordan Harper because he's like the biggest fan of Nightcrawler. And of course, everybody knows, which is a book he wrote, and then his new one, Violet Masterpiece, kind of plays it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Nightcrawler's grandpa or Nightcrawler's dad. Totally. And how great is this? You have this amoral photographer who's scheming, conniving, and he's like pitting mob guys against each other. He's kind of like going after one woman for his career and what she can do for him, and then another woman just almost because he wants to like just one up a guy.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. Yes, but this one I thought, probably the most fun acting wise after Roadhouse, of course, Widmark and that whole thing and Lupino. But this great ensemble, Lawrence Tierney, it's great.
Yeah, it's Lawrence Tierney and what's his name? Brian Donlevy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But Howard Duff, yeah. So this has got like a slight connection to Roadhouse in that Ida Lupino was married to Howard Duff for years and years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's cool. It's a funny thing because I discovered this when the Kino Blu-ray came out, like probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I've never been a really big Howard Duff fan. Like I find him pretty bland. So this movie is surprising to me because that blandness kind of works in this way, and he's also a little more animated here, but like it allows him sort of a Cypher-like presence that is really good for this sort of sociopath kind of character. Because you're just like, what's this guy's deal? He's kind of more than kind of creepy from the outset. But yeah, the Nightcrawler vibes are right there, and it's just one of those movies that I like the ending. I think the ending may be a bit much for some people, but I think the ending kind of hangs with you.
Yeah, for sure. There are some big scenes like there's like the firebombing or whatever happens there, and I don't want to give away too much, but where he's like trying to convince somebody to jump a certain way for the photo. There's a lot going on in this movie that's, I think people will be surprised by it. Have you seen this with an audience?
Have I seen this? I don't think so. I think it actually played at the New Beverly, within the last calendar year, but I didn't get to go out and I should have. The bummer about doing the calendar episodes is that we usually end up rewatching stuff before the shows, and sometimes we try to tuck away a couple that we can just go see fresh, but you want to kind of have it fresh in your head when you talk about it. So
for sure.
I just kind of rewatched it and I was like, but I should have gone with the crowd because it really would play great, I think, with the crowd. And I'm sure it's been part of, Noir. Noir City kind of stuff. Yeah. City. Yeah. It's really fun. But yeah, it's just a great setup. This idea of his big break comes when he gets Brian Donlevy, who's this sort of like notorious, criminal, but who's got a public face that's like he's a upstanding businessman, but he won't let himself be photographed. And he comes to him and is like, I'm going to get his photograph to his wife, who is a woman that he starts to go for. And she's like, yeah, right, whatever, get out of here. And he is able to talk him into it. He's like, there's pictures of you, but you always look pretty shifty because you're, ducking or tipping your face away from the camera. And I think, you don't have anything to be ashamed of or hide about.
No, not at all.
Why not get a front-facing picture? And he buys it, and then the guy, he starts working with him, and it gets really, like you say, it starts getting complicated, and he's he's just like a real great fatalistic noir character where you do not like him, you do not like where his head's at, and the way that he treats people is terrible, and so you kind of want bad stuff to happen to him in a way, and so it's really an enjoyable ride, I think, and it's fun to have the photographer as noir character. I think that's
going to say that. Yeah, I love in all three of these. They aren't the traditional. I mean, private eye movies are great, but they're not like the cop or whatever. We have a different, and it isn't also the hard-nosed reporter. These are different characters than you usually get.
Yeah, absolutely. The one I would recommend, and I have seen played as part of Noir City, is the movie The Public Eye with Joe Pesci.
Yeah, that one was good.
Yeah, it's again sort of a noir thing, but also about a photographer, and I think it'd be a really fun, noir photographer double to do Shakedown Public Eye.
You could put Aya Laura Mars right there.
I was thinking about that too. I actually made a whole list of photographer
could make a whole series.
Noir. There's a bunch. I mean, I don't think Blow Up necessarily works as noir.
Oh, we'll slide it in.
But you could slide it in. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun that way.
Yeah, no, this was a really good one. And then there were a couple others that you were recommending. Do you want to just go over those real fast?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just pull those up. One of them is another one that I discovered through Kino Lorber, one of their noir box sets. They have a ton of noir box sets, and this one's called Black Tuesday. And
I started that and didn't get a chance to finish it.
It's another one that's got a humdinger of an ending that kind of I would love to see with the crowd, because it kind of goes to a place where you're like, oh, I didn't quite see that coming, and it ends almost immediately after that beat, which is another thing that I love.
Nice.
They don't always do that. Sometimes they'll give you like some denouement or something where you're just like, that's cool and everything. Yeah, exactly. But sometimes when you don't get that, you're just like, oh wow, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a super fun one with Edward G. Robinson as, I mean, one of the best performances I've seen of him. He plays this guy named Vincent Kennelly, and he's like a arch criminal. He's really evil, and he sets up a really interesting prison break, and then there's a whole bunch of cops after him, and they take some hostages. Peter Graves is involved as another criminal that's incarcerated with them, and they sort of rope him in because he, was part of a heist that there was a bunch of money buried, and they want to maybe see if they can get him on board with their next scheme and get him to, dig up that money. And he's like real skeptical and stuff. But yeah, it's a really fun one. And he's just so good in it. I'm just a big Eddie Robinson fan. So,
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I think I had read that he was, trying to get away, of course, from the crime roles because he was a very artistic and sensitive man. But he had to for the money at this time. But everybody was raving about this performance. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good. The other one that I'd wanted to get in here, and I still definitely would love to hear what you think about it, is a movie called If I Should Die Before I Wake.
Okay.
Which I believe it's Spanish or a Mexican noir, and it was part of one of the it's online, but it was part of one of the Blu-rays that, oh shoot, I'm gonna blank on this now. I'll have to think of the company that put it out. But it was like a bonus feature, and it's, I think, really, really good kid noir, basically, where you have this young boy who he sort of discovers that there's an evil criminal that's killing children. So it ties into M a little bit, like in his neighborhood.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, like he has this girl that he knows in his class that he likes, and they hang out a lot, and she starts talking to him about, oh, there's this guy that gives me candy, and I'm like, that's really creepy. Yeah. and then she like disappears, and then he kind of gets in trouble, but it's got a really, really tense last like 15-20 minutes where he's trying to track down the guy himself. Great. Yeah, it was surprisingly, and it's super short. It's like 67 minutes, so it's like really compact. It's it's subtitled, but it's really easy to follow. It actually has one of the darkest dream sequences for a child in a film noir that I've ever seen, and so it kind of stands out for that. Just really creepy stuff. But yeah, really well done. I don't know any of these actors, but I was really impressed with it. It was one that I would love to see play as part of a noir festival. It would be like a big surprise, and people would go away, I think, thinking it was one of the best things they'd seen in a series if it was part of something. So.
It's always creative sometimes when they can go from the point of view of a child. Like the one that I dug, and I know I've talked about it once or twice on this show, was, I think it was called The Window.
Yes.
With the
great movie.
Yeah, like Peter and the Wolf, is a really bad guy. Yeah, and I think that's really creative. So I can't wait to check that out. Are there any others that you can think of off the top of your head?
I'm trying to think. Like I have tons of noirs that I enjoy, and I know. Let me just look at. I have one more list that I have that has just a bunch of classic films that I've been thinking about screening myself. I sometimes do like little private screenings in LA at one of the micro cinemas here, and I haven't worked up to showing Noir yet because I've been trying to sort of cultivate this group of friends, showing them kind of more fun stuff. But I've had like Black Tuesday was on my list, and and a couple of these other ones actually were on the list of movies that I kind of wanted to show people because but I figure they'll probably be part of some noir series here in LA. I mean, we certainly get nice series of noir out here, And so, shoot, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find this list, but
that's okay. You also recommended a lot of great Blu-ray distributors and series, and I was actually a part of Columbia Noir #4. I wrote an essay on Chicago Syndicate.
Nice.
So yeah, there are so many good ones. Like I had never seen that. Lots of discoveries in there, some more famous movies, and then these overlooked gems. Yeah.
I found the list actually. I'm sorry. Just
good.
two more. Just two more I'll recommend. One is probably one that people know, but I still feel like it's a little underappreciated, and one is definitely underappreciated. The first one is Cry Danger from 1951 with Dick Powell.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I figured you've seen that one, yeah. But I still feel like people don't talk about that one enough.
No.
And it's about a guy who gets out of prison, which is one of my podcast partner Elric Kane's favorite tropes in movies, is guys getting out of prison. And him sort of, trying to clear his friend's name who's in prison for another crime. But Dick Powell is I think he's either co-director. It's Robert Parrish and Dick Powell are credited as directors. And I'm not sure if he took over or what happened, but he's really strong in it. And it's got some really fun characters. It's, again, that sort of unconventional noir, it's a little different. And the other one's called Chicago Deadline from 1949. This one stars Alan Ladd and Donna Reed. And similarly to Mask of Demetrios, it's about, in this case, it's a reporter, so it's a little more conventional in that sense, played by Alan Ladd, who finds the body of a dead girl, and her address book is left in the room, and it's got a bunch of names of some more like people higher up in town. And so he starts calling people in the address book, and he doesn't give it to the cops either, which is obviously a little underhanded. But everybody is like terrified of her and what she might know about them. And you do get some sort of flashbacks as to who she was. But it's really interesting to see how it plays out and who killed her and what happened. This is another one that was part of a Kino Lorber box set, but it's from 1949. It's solid. It's a fun, Alan Ladd movie, and he gets credit for, like Blue Dahlia and This Gun for Hire and things like that. Both are great. And Blue Dahlia, by the way, if people haven't seen
Glass Key.
Glass Key, that's the one. That's the one. Glass Key is the proto Miller's Crossing. That's the one that everybody should see. If you haven't seen the Glass Key, it is 100% the same material as Miller's Crossing, so it's very much like that movie. Yeah, I love Glass Key. That is the one. Good stuff.
Yeah, very good stuff. And I think these are really wonderful choices. I love talking about noir with you, and I wanted to know too, what's going on the podcast? Anything you want to tease out for listeners?
Let me think. Well, we're in a series of, interesting calendar episodes for the New Beverly. There's been a couple where the theater reverted to its previous state, which is referred to in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as the dirty theater up the street.
Yeah, that's right.
It was called the Eros Theater. It was not exactly a porn theater, but they showed erotica and some harder stuff, I think. But so the calendars have been meant to emulate that. The first month was like quasi period accurate, went into the 70s. But this new month that we're dealing with now in February pulls in some stuff from the 90s and some other things. So it's just sort of emulating that. And there's a really fun series coming. I can't talk about next month. That's going to be exciting. But we just did on Pure Cinema, we did our Director's Missing Pieces, which is an ongoing series we do, which is Elric's idea. And it's basically like we look at directors that we love and we just go, okay, what haven't I seen? And kind of sift through it. I mean, Elric's a big driving force behind the Discovery stuff, which is obviously a big thing for us on that show. And one of our favorite episodes to do is our film discoveries. Sometimes we do those multiple times a year, but we definitely do one at the end of the year. And that's always one of my favorite episodes. But he's always pushing to watch new stuff. And we're like 9 years in. So it becomes a little challenging, but it's still, as you know, there's just so much out there that we'll never be able to see it all. So there's a lot. Once you put those parameters on, it's kind of fun to just be like, okay, what can I find here? Is it Under Capricorn, he hadn't seen Hitchcock's Under Capricorn, or, I dig into another Frederick Wiseman film that I haven't seen. He's one of my R.I.P. He's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. And, so those are fun. And we have some more stuff like that coming. We're going back to one of my favorite things, which is we'll take film books. We've done episodes on Danny Perry's film books, the cult movies books, the Guide for the Film Fanatic, alternate Oscars, cult movie stars. And we just take a book and go, okay, what can I pick out of this book that's good? And film books, I think, are just so great as resources. And
love them. Yep.
Right? I mean, I can see you had stacks of them behind.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, they're wonderful, and they're just, I don't know, in this day and age, it's always great to just be able to pick up a physical book and flip through it, and it's just different. I mean, you can find lists for just about any film book you can think of on Letterboxd. Somebody's got, here's all the movies, and it's fun to go through them that way and kind of like add things to your watch list, but it's such a different experience to pull. I mean, I don't need to tell you this at all, but to open a film book and just kind of go, what catches my eye here? What does this little synopsis mean to me? And so those are a lot of fun. And we have a couple of those coming on a series of film books later this year, hopefully, that we look forward to people hearing and enjoying, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to track down some of these. I love hitting used bookstores. Iliad, whenever I go to LA, is like my favorite. I found so many really obscure books there that I love. And also just when you were talking about like Guide to the Film Fanatic and some of these, I was remembering the 90s and the heyday of like, do you remember Mick Martin and Marcia Porter's books, the video movie guide?
Oh, yeah. I think I had
I think I have a couple of those. I have the old Malton guides.
Oh, yeah.
So many old books that I kept for like decades, and I can't give them up. I mean, even like the Billy Wilder one that Cameron Crowe wrote is out of print, which is crazy. And so, I was just talking to Courtney Howard last week because she bought the Twilight Zone, what happened on the sets with the helicopter. She found it, it's out of print, and found it on eBay. So they're out there. Track down those books. Yeah,
there's lots of great stuff, and there's a lot of new ones being written.
Oh my gosh, I know,
all the time by a lot of great people that you and I interact with on socials all the time. There's so many great male and female writers of film books of all kinds, and I think they're a great guide. The other thing that I love about them is that it's a time where I think we all feel overwhelmed by a lot of things, right? But
but we have that.
Yes, exactly. The amount of movies that are out there, like how do you, like people come to your show, or listen to maybe my show about movies that could help guide them to things that they don't know about. And film books are a great way to just discover movies and to cut through all the noise of like, God, I have no idea what to watch. Because so much is available now, which is great, but it's also, like I said, really overwhelming. So the books really help narrow things down and help you find things that no algorithm could ever find, as far as I'm concerned. And so obviously people are the best algorithms, if you want to call them that, in terms of guides out there, personal curation by anybody that you trust is a great way, but the books are often something that help people that curate find things, and they're just as good for anybody that wants to find a movie they don't know about,
Yeah, I have a proposal right now making the rounds, and we're running into some really great, I love that movie, but will it sell enough copies as a book? So it's kind of becoming a thing, but, these are getting written. Sometimes you have to go to the university presses. I'm a huge fan of that Director series. I think can't remember if it was the Oklahoma or whatever series of books, or Arkansas had a good press of Jarmusch, all the collections of interviews. So these books are out there. Yeah, I think it makes it much more exciting. And I always love that about your show, because you guys don't just scan the Wikipedia. you kind of dig, you know what I mean? You can kind of tell if somebody's just sort of going through the motions, but
Sure.
you guys do your homework and, listeners love it. And so we want to thank you for all that hard work because it's so much work, Brian and Elric.
Well, you know just as well as anybody just how much hard work it is to maintain a podcast. How long has your show been going now?
It is since 2020.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. Congrats on that because
Thank you.
There's just a lot of shows. I think people listen and they figure, again, we've talked about this before, I feel like, but like, it's easy,
Yes.
and it's
just having a conversation. Yeah.
Which is, true in theory, like that's what it should be. But in terms of the research, in terms of the planning, in terms of the scheduling guests, and in your show, I respect so much because you do guest related stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And that's so much harder. You have to schedule people and scheduling. I mean, this is something we burned out on a long time ago. So we do have guests, but Elric and I will often just bank episodes that are just he and I because it's so much easier to do.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that I think burns people out. They don't realize how much hard work it is. So, big time appreciate all the variety of incredible guests that you bring on your podcast. It's very cool stuff.
Oh, thank you. We're just a mutual admiration.
Absolutely.
Society.
Of course.
I mean, just ask us. Well, Brian, thank you so much. You're going to have to come back. Elric needs to join.
For sure.
Any recommendations that you have, just hit me up. And everyone be sure to check out Just the Discs and Pure Cinema Podcast. You're already listening to them, so.
Maybe, but I always appreciate the, promotion. Thank you so much for having me and let me, come up with this little idea that hopefully maybe people get a kick out of. Who knows?
Yes. I also want to thank everyone for listening, especially my patrons who support the show and help fund my research, equipment, film rentals, RSS fees, and more for as little as $1 per month at the Film Intuition Patreon, which is the home base for the show. Other ways you can support the podcast are by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, and also checking out the cool merch store hosted and created by our talented logo designer, Kate Gabrielle. You can find the merchandise store, including shirts, tote bags, stickers, and more by visiting filmintuition.com and clicking on the shop link. The show's theme music is Solo Acoustic Guitar by Jason Shaw and is available in the Free Music Archive. Well, until next time, please take care and happy movie watching. This is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen.